Hey besties, welcome back to another episode of Besties and Books. I'm Ellen, this is Sarah, and on this channel we drink wine, share laughs, and talk all books of every genre. Today is a special episode because it is our final Boys of Tommen full spoiler reading vlog. So if you've been following along, we have been filming and reading in real time every single book in the Boys of Tommen series by Chloe Walsh, and we are now up to releasing 10, and this book has been such an emotional roller coaster. And to be honest, I'm happy for a break to then go back and continue the series whenever the next book is released, because if you have read the Boys of Tommen series, you might already be aware, but this is a continuing series. So I think this book follows Lizzie and Hugh, and I think they're going to get 3 books in total. So this is book 1 of 3. Yeah, I think so. So with that being said, if you're loving our content, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and hit that bell notification so that you don't miss any of our future videos. And just a little PSA as well. We mentioned in our last episode or the episode before that, can't quite remember, but we are taking a break because I am about to have a baby and it's just too hard to try and juggle the time to the podcast and the channel, and then obviously look after a newborn as well. So it's goodbye for now, but not forever. And if you are still loving our content, like I said, hit that subscribe button because it always helps us reevaluate where we can come back to if we pick up where we left off or just start something new altogether. Anyway, I have yapped on enough now. Let's get straight into the full spoiler reading vlog. Hey besties, we are back with another full spoiler reading vlog, and it feels almost sad because it is the final book in the Boys of Tommen series by Chloe Walsh. If you haven't watched our other full spoiler reading vlogs, go back, look at our channel, they're all there. So in saying that, I'm about 10% in and whoa, this is dark. This is definitely so far the darkest book in all of the series. It is really hitting home for me, especially with young kids. If you've read this book, then you know it has a very strong child essay, non-consent, statutory non-consent issues. I don't want to get banned off YouTube, so just check your triggers for what that means. But it's heavy. It's heavy, it's dark. I've already been quite emotional, quite teary. So this installment is going to follow Lizzie's story. And as we know from Taming 7, Gibbsy suffered some pretty horrific essay for 4 years when he was a child at the hands of his stepbrother, Mark. So we're going back in time a bit. We're seeing Lizzie as a child and her interactions with Mark from a really young age because Mark was dating Lizzie's sister. So yeah, it started off really hard, really heavy. It's emotional. I don't know if we're going to get much comic relief from this one, guys. I just feel like it's going to be a real tearjerker read, but, you know, a masterpiece in its own right. The other part that's making me really sad about this book is we're having an appearance from Gibbsy's father, Joe Gibson, and if you've read the entire series, we already know that he sadly died in a drowning trying to save Gibbsy and his sister. So I can see that coming. I can see that event happening. And it's making me so emotional because I'm getting attached to Gibbsy's father. He's funny, he's caring, he loves his kids so much. He defends them tooth and nail. I'm growing an attachment to him. So knowing that he's going to die and probably soon, it's just going to rip my absolute heart out. Also, we're learning a bit more about Lizzie's mental health issues. So from a child, it's very clear she's hearing voices, sort of alluding to schizophrenia a bit. She's being called crazy by her dad and her sister, but her mum's being fully supportive. She's being medicated from a really young age. She doesn't know what's wrong with her, and it's really, really sad and rough. So there's kind of like a threefold really emotional layer to this book. We have Lizzie's mental health and the battle with the voices. We've got Mark and SA and what he's doing to these kids. And then we have Gibbsy's father knowing that he's going to drown imminently. Ugh! It's all very hard. It's very rough. I don't know how I'm going to get through it. It's written beautifully, but it's dark. And it's going to get darker and it's going to get worse. Anyway, that's it for me for my first check-in. I will check in again with you around the 50% mark.
Hi, besties. We are doing another vlog of the Boys of Tommen series. This one is on a book, Releasing 10, which is the latest book in the series. It's going to follow the story of Lizzie and Hugh. Now, this is really interesting. We know Lizzie and Hugh from all of the previous books. I have really struggled with Lizzie as a character. She sort of is outwardly, she's very harsh to certain members of their friendship group. She comes across often as a bitch. There's clearly a lot of hurt and pain and trauma in her past that we haven't really fully understood. So I'm sure we will in this book. In terms of her relationship with Hugh, we don't know much about that from the previous books. There are hints that there has been some sort of a previous relationship, a close friendship between the two. But Hugh has always had, as far as we know it, he's always had a girlfriend called Katie for the last couple of years, and that's seemingly quite serious. So obviously that's going to change at some point in Releasing 10. I'm only 10% in. I think this book, based on the first 10%, I think this book is going to be a pretty emotional read. So far, Lizzie's sort of only that 3-4-year-old age. There's hints that there's some family sort of trauma or some mental health background in the family. We don't really know the full details. Lizzie herself is quite a tough kid to manage, it seems. She has bouts of being selectively mute. She has violent outbursts. She's moved schools a few times, or sort of that the family have moved a few times, just based on her needs. Her sister, her older sister Kiva, has already had quite a few outbursts about how Lizzie is ruining her life and she's the worst person. Lizzie's mum is just this like constant, loving, caring, beautiful mum. Her dad, similar to Kiva, really struggles with Lizzie's difficulties. So this is sort of the family, it's just setting up at the moment the family background and the dynamics and the fact that Lizzie's sort of not an easy kid to manage. That's all I've got for now. Very keen to keep reading, and I'll check in soon.
Hey besties, I'm back with my second reading check-in for Releasing 10. I'm about 50% through the book. Holy moly, this is so dark. So much darker than the rest of books, in my opinion. I think you could easily read books 1 to 4, maybe 5, and then skip the next one if you have certain triggers. But like, I'm still loving it. Like, I absolutely love it. It's so well written, so gut-wrenching, so emotional. What a ride. I can totally understand why all the booktubers, when they read this, they're bawling their eyes out, go into reading slumps. All of it. It just brings up so many emotions. But wow, it is so dark. The Mark, Lizzie's sister dynamic, Gibbsy. Ugh. And they're so young, literally children. So look, I'm finding that really hard, finding it really dark. And I do have to say, I don't think the author needs to go into as much detail as she does. I think these events can be discussed without so much graphic detail. I think the shock value will still be there, the emotional intensity of it all, the darkness is still there. It would still have all of those qualities if she didn't go into such graphic detail, I think, particularly between Lizzie and Mark. Obviously, if you know what I'm talking about. So that's just a little critique that I've got about this book so far. But otherwise, as I said, I'm still loving it. Also, the scene where Gibbsy's sister jumps off the boat or falls off the boat and Gibbsy's father jumps in and Gibbsy does as well. Wow, what an emotional scene. I knew it was coming. I didn't want it to happen, but knew it was coming. And that was really rough to sort of witness firsthand in the book because we haven't really had that event be played out before in previous books. Ugh, What a rough ride. On a lighter note, Huey is just the best. He is so supportive of Lizzie. I cannot believe how mature he is. I almost feel like it's a little bit too mature for his age with the things that he's saying to Lizzie and the communication and how he is so emotionally available for her and standing up for her. Little minds just need shaping so much. But, you know, I don't have an 11, 12-year-old kid, so I don't really know the types of topics and discussions that they're having with their peers. But from the outset, that age group seems still very much like a child to me. So he's having these really mature conversations and taking on board these very mature, dark themes, I guess. And he is just a total saint. He's just a wonderful character. I'm loving getting to know him more. I wasn't expecting him to have such a strong presence in this book, but I love the way he treats Lizzie, believes her, but still stands his ground on, you know, certain things. He's still his own person, and I really love that. He hasn't lost that at all. He hasn't just become sort of Lizzie's shoulder to lean on and sort of lost himself in all of that. I just love his character so much. So basically, so much has happened since the last check-in. Lizzie's sister's gotten pregnant. That's been super full on. Watching Lizzie taking all these pills as such a young child that are making her groggy and sleepy. Ugh, that is really rough to witness and watch. So where I'm at now is almost like a total cliffhanger. Oh my gosh. So Lizzie's sister has just discovered that Mark was raping Gibbsy, and she basically comes home and is screaming at Mark saying, "I saw you do it, you're a pedophile." She's going off at him, and how that whole unfolded was like, oh my gosh, what's happening? That's all happened now. Lizzie's sister has died. We all thought it was a suicide in the other books, but now it's looking more and more like a murder, which has just added a whole nother twist to the book. What I don't get still, I'm really, really struggling with, is Lizzie's sister wrote the note to Gibbsy and handed it to Lizzie, and Lizzie gave it to Gibbsy. So Lizzie knows what Mark has done to Gibbsy, right? And still treats Gibbsy really awfully and horribly and sort of projects a lot of her issues onto Gibbsy, almost treating him like he is Mark. And I don't think, like, even though she sort of confronted him at Lizzie's sister's funeral and said, you know the truth about Mark, just say it, Gibbsy's still a child. He's Lizzie's age. He is a child. I don't think he should be expected to have the bravery to stand up in that point in time. I think it is really the responsibility of the adults that are failing Lizzie right now in not believing her, drugging her up, not treating her with respect, calling her crazy, all the things. I think Lizzie's having a really, really hard time, and she really wanted Gibbsy's support in that moment because she felt like he understood on one level what was going on with Mark. But he's a child. I don't hold any sort of grudge against Gibbsy for not backing Lizzie in this moment. I think that was sort of really rough on Gibbsy, and I still don't love the way that Lizzie treated Gibbsy throughout the other books. But we'll see how that unfolds. You know, maybe there's more to that story. Maybe this is a response to PTSD. I just don't know. I'm sure the author will unravel all of those elements towards the end of the book, and I will have to let you know what I think of that. The last thing I felt like was worth mentioning was Lizzie's dad. Oh my gosh, I cannot stand him. He is totally failing Lizzie and her sister before she died in every single aspect. I just hate him. I can't stand him. I think he's awful. I don't think there's any excuse. Lizzie is such a child. It just seems like he wants to put her on every single drug under the sun, send her away. He just can't deal unless he has the perfect golden child. Ugh, I just can't stand him. Anyway, I'm flying through this book. I'm loving it, and I will check in again around that 70% mark.
Hey besties, next check-in for our vlog book, Boys of Tommen Releasing 10. I'm about 40% through. I'm absolutely loving it, but it is an emotionally tough read. There are some scenes in the book that are full on, and yeah, it's not for the faint of heart. So at the moment, Lizzie's about, I think, 10 years old in the book. So we've sort of watched her journey from being 3-4-year-old to 10 years old. She's made friends with Claire and Shannon, through Claire. She's obviously met Hugh, Claire's older brother, and has formed this beautiful friendship group with the girls and with Hugh and Feely and Gibbs. And it's been really nice to see Lizzie have some of these light-hearted, just beautiful, fun friendship moments, because this is a side of her we have not seen in the last few books. We've really just seen from her like angst and sort of so much just fury and rage. So it's been really nice to sort of see a different side of Liz. She has developed a beautiful friendship, particularly with Hugh. She feels safe around him. She feels calmer with him. You know, she's just towards the 40% mark. She has officially gotten a bipolar diagnosis. So we have seen her go through lots of ups and downs. And when she's in her downs, she is really low and she doesn't want to see anyone. She doesn't leave her house. And Hugh has been there sort of every step of the way, visiting her even when she can barely speak. So Hugh is just this beautiful, kind, caring. I mean, it's ridiculous that they're only 10 years old, because it reads more like they're, you know, late teenagers or something. We've also seen a lot more of Kiva's boyfriend, Mark, who we knew about from previous books, but we've seen him introduced sort of when Kiva and Mark first start dating. We do not like Mark. In the previous book, he was sexually abusing Gibbs for a number of years. He's also abusing Lizzie, and he has been abusing her from a very young age. There were some scenes that have been quite hard to, even though a lot is implied in the scenes, it's still very hard to read it. And the way that he has approached the sexual abuse is that he's sort of, you know, he's got a way to fix Lizzie to make sure she doesn't get sick and doesn't get cancer like her mum. And if she doesn't sort of go through this special treatment with Mark, then she's going to get sick. So he has been grooming and manipulating her from a very young age. Lizzie, she's struggling now at the age of 10 to separate what is reality from her nightmares. So no one knows this is happening to her, and even in her own mind it's like she cannot trust what is happening. So she doesn't really know now, is this actually happening to her when Mark comes in the middle of the night, or did she just, is it her mind making it up, and is it just a nightmare? So yeah, there's been some really, really tough scenes to read. Kiva, we've had a little bit of a reprieve from Mark, thank God. So Kiva got pregnant with Mark, and she skipped one of her leaving cert exams to go to London to get an abortion. And she's very much fallen out of favour with her parents. They did not approve. She's going to have to repeat school. So they've banned Mark from the house. So the first time in Lizzie's life, she feels like she's not the bad child. You know, she's always sort of felt like she was the difficult child and she was the one who needed all the extra special attention. And now for the first time, Kiva's in the bad books and she is not seen as the bad child. In terms of her and Hugh, they have just had their first kiss or two, which is like a really sweet 10-year-old romance. So things between them they're going well. Obviously, at some point, I'm expecting things to fall apart because Hugh's going to go and get a girlfriend, Katie. But that hasn't happened yet. And I do suspect that given I'm 40% through and they're only 10 years old, I think this is not going to wrap up by the end of releasing 10. So I'm assuming there's going to be a second book that will cover the Hugh and Lizzie story. But we'll see. Anyway, until next time.
Hey Besties, I am already back with another reading check-in. I am 70 or just over 70% of the way through releasing 10. I'm just flying through it at this point. Not a lot has, I guess, unfolded since my last check-in, other than Lizzie's tirade has begun against Gibbsy. Hugh is standing up for Gibbsy, which is great. He's really standing his ground against Lizzie and setting that boundary, being like, Gibbsy is my friend too. He's a child. I don't support this. I believe you in everything else that you've told me and that's going on in your life, but I cannot support this tirade against Gibbsy. So Hugh is really standing his ground, which is great. Like I was saying before, he wasn't losing himself, I think, in the relationship to Lizzie and everything that she's going through. He is just a child. Like, this is not an adult. Hugh is just a child, even though he seems very mature in the book. So I feel like it would be really easy for him to lose himself amongst everything Lizzie is going through, but he's not. He is his own person and is backing Lizzie 100% on everything else except for what's going on with Gibbsy. So I'm really loving that. But yes, Lizzie is relentless against Gibbsy. She just loses it whenever he's in her presence. She starts screaming or carrying on. She's just like, she's really projecting everything bad onto Gibbsy, who, like I said before, is also just a child. So I feel like that is very unfair. But how do you tell that to Lizzie, who is a child, has been through so much, heavily medicated, no one backs her, no one trusts her. The guards keep failing her again and again and again. Her parents are failing her again and again and again. Everyone around Lizzie and in her life is just failing her. So the only person that is showing her any sort of support is Hugh. But something else that sort of propped up in the book that I don't think I mentioned earlier was this weird stalker lady. I don't know how she's going to play into this, but Lizzie has been seeing this lady stalking her, I think pretty much her entire life. And Hugh has seen her, I think 2 or 3 times by this point, and is like, yep, she's definitely real, she's definitely there. Tries to take Lizzie to the guards. Guards don't believe her, of course, saying it's a figment of your imagination. You're convincing another kid to believe you when it's not true. You're wasting our resources, time. Again, Lizzie's just getting totally failed, and this is triggering a lot for her. But I just wonder what role this stalker lady is going to play in this book. There are no clues whatsoever about who she is. There's this story circulating about some sort of banshee, but I don't really believe any of that. We've had no magical paranormal components to these books so far. So I think she is a real person. I just don't know how she's going to play a role in this, but it's very creepy. And I guess we will have some answers by the end about, you know, what her fascination with Lizzie is. There's also a really cute scene where Hugh gets Lizzie a bracelet for her birthday with little charms on it. And there's a life buoy charm on there because Lizzie keeps talking about having this dream of her drowning and replacing her sister. And the meaning behind the life buoy is basically like Hugh would never ever believe that Lizzie should have traded places with her sister, and that he'll always be there to bring her above water. And I just thought that was so cute, so romantic, even though he's so young still in this book. I just loved that little scene and that little charm bracelet. Another scene that I loved was a little exchange between Johnny and Gibbsy, where Johnny admits that Gibbsy is his best friend and won't let him wear a blazer into his first day of Tommen. And I just loved that scene. I thought it was so cute, so sweet. Gibbsy is so happy. His popularity has soared. It's well deserved, obviously. And I just loved that little exchange. Anyway, that's all I've got for now. Besties, I will check in with you again when I have finished releasing 10. I'm expecting all the emotions, all the waterworks, heartbreaking. I really feel like this book is going to put me in a reading slump. I don't have many more critiques at this point other than what's happening between Mark and Lizzie is super graphic for a young child, and I think that's a bit unnecessary, like I said before. But otherwise, I don't have much else to critique, and I am looking forward to how this book is going to wrap up and what we're going to see.
Hey besties, my next check-in for releasing 10, I am 70% through the book, and wow, the last 30% has been so intense. Even though I knew it was coming up, that has not helped. So Kiva has now passed away. The first sort of we hear of it in this book is Lizzie overhearing Kiva and Mark arguing. She has obviously walked in on Mark and Gibbs and knows what's happened, and she's screaming at Mark, calling him all sorts of names, like fair enough too. And Lizzie overhears all this screaming, and then sort of roll forward to Kiva has died and Mark is trying to play it off as a suicide. Lizzie has a confession note that Kiva wrote that explains everything that Mark has done, and she doesn't really know what to do with it. She's still very young. She's a very young teenager at this point. She slips the confession note into Gibbs's pocket because she doesn't know Gibbs has been molested as well by Mark, but her sister Kiva says to her, give it to Gibbs, tell him everything, and then you two can go to the police and it'll all be fine. So she slips the note into Gibbs's pocket, trusting that Gibbs will do something about it. Then at Kiva's funeral, it is just, I have no words for how sort of emotional this section of the book is, but she ends up calling Mark out for being a rapist and a murderer, and no one believes her, so she looks to Gibbs and asks Gibbs to back her up, and he doesn't do anything. He says nothing. So this is where, we knew there was tension between Gibbs and Lizzie, and this is where it all starts from. So she feels that he's protecting a murderer, a rapist, a horrible person, and therefore Gibbs is just as bad as Mark is. It is so emotional. I loved this book, and I loved sort of the section I've just read, but also this book is a hard read. You have to be emotionally stable and comfortable. You do not want to be reading this book if you're not in a good state of mind. It is an intense read. It just ripped my heart out. I almost just don't want to keep reading because it's just so full on. But I'll finish it, I'll get through it. I am loving it, but also struggling with it at the same time.
Hey besties, I have finished Releasing 10. Oh my gosh, what an ending. I was like sobbing. I still feel teary thinking about it. That was so emotional. So emotional. And I feel like how Lizzie and Hugh, I've just got full body shivers. How Lizzie and Hugh ended their relationship at the end of this book was heart-wrenching. I fully understood it and fully knew that Hugh couldn't take Lizzie back, but I just wanted him to so bad at the same time. It was so full on. So full on. And I have to read you a couple of quotes from the book. These are the quotes that literally got me sobbing. So this is Lizzie talking. But the parts that I can remember make it clear that I have no right to ask you for a second chance. Liz, Hugh strangled out, feeling his chest heave from the pressure. I would do anything to go back in time and change our ending, to stop it from happening, and if there was any way I could get past it, I would. But you can't, she confirmed tearfully with a knowing nod. It's okay, Hugh, I understand. It's no way I'm not going to ask. Oh my God. And then she goes on to say, I need you to stay away from me. And I know you can't be my friend anymore, but I want you to know that I'm so grateful to have had you in my life. I'll never have a greater friend, Hugh Biggs, or a greater love. Oh my gosh. I'm just like, rip my heart out. And then it sort of goes on a little bit, and then Hugh is like, we can be friends, and Lizzie says, no, we can't, Hugh, because we can't be friends with the people that we're in love with. Oh my gosh. And I am always going to love you, Hugh. Oh my God. This is just so sad. This is so sad. And then he goes on to say, I believed her. I knew this girl better than I knew myself. I could hear her truth. I could see it in her eyes. It mirrored mine. I knew how she felt because I felt the same way. It was a hopeless, desperate, frantic feeling. It was fucking torture. And then she goes on to say, I want you to move on from me. I don't want you to feel guilty about it or to think that you're doing something wrong, because you aren't, because you are too amazing of a person to spend your life on a fuck up like me. And then he goes on to say, how am I supposed to let go? And she says, you never let go. I was the one that let go, remember? Full body chills. And then the final line of the book, I'll always love you, Hugh Biggs, Liz said when she rounded the table and stopped in front of me. Inhaling a quivering breath, she leaned down and pressed a kiss to my cheek before whispering, no matter what. And then she was gone. This is just so sad. Okay, pull myself together. What are my thoughts on the ending? Holy shit. Like, basically, from the point that I last touched base with you guys, it has been explosive. Lizzie cheats on Hugh with Pierce, and even though she's not in her right mind, he fully takes advantage of her, but she just keeps going back to him. She's gone all super hypersexual with her bipolar and her manic episodes. Oh my gosh, I just wanted to unwind that section of the book. When I was reading it, I was like, no, she's not going to do this, she's not going to do this, she's not going to take that step, she's going to lose Hugh, he's never going to come back. And watching that all unravel and then her going back to Pierce repeatedly just absolutely ripped my heart out. I hated her guts. We've gone this whole book from turning it around with Lizzie to loving her, at least I have, and understanding her and how manic she is and feeling for her. But then what she did with Pierce just made me hate her all over again. I couldn't get past it. I couldn't fathom how she could do that to Hugh after everything he has done for her. Everything. Everyone in her life has failed her. Why did she have to do this to Hugh? That was so full on to read, and I was totally gripped. I just couldn't put it down. I wanted to know what happened. And then we all know she gets admitted, she gets better, and that's sort of where it all ends up, and her and Hugh are reunited, and they really call it off for good and break it off, and that was just so gut-wrenching. The other thing that really bothered me about Lizzie with this whole manic episode and going with Pierce is how she was trying to blackmail Hugh into sex. Or if a guy did that to a girl, ooh, like that is not okay. That is absolutely not okay. Blackmailing your partner into sex. He didn't have sex with her in the end, but the blackmail was still there. The manipulation was still there, even though she was manic. It is so unacceptable. Consent can be withdrawn at any time. Even if you say yes to something halfway through, you decide no, that consent can be withdrawn. It is totally fluid and can be withdrawn at any time. And I really, really struggled with that blackmail that Liz put on Hugh. I couldn't get on board with it. And combined with what she did with Pierce, that hatred that I felt towards her, I was like, we've come so far, Lizzie. We've heard all of your backstory. We feel for you. We are emotionally there with you. This trauma is so full on. This story is so dark. Her story is by far the darkest out of all of the Boys of Tommen characters. But that, I don't know that I can get past that. So this book literally gave me the worst whiplash. The worst whiplash. From like page, I think 10 of this book, I really felt for Lizzie. I was like, holy shit, she has been through so much. Her parents have failed her. Every adult in her life has failed her. Even her friends have failed her. The only person that hasn't failed her is Hugh. So in terms of failing her, not only with her bipolar disorder and her manic episodes, but also with what's going on with Mark and the rape. Oh, the child rape. Wow, what a triggering book. But I really was like, this has just turned my perspective totally around with Lizzie. The author did an amazing job. But then the whiplash happened when she went totally manic, slept with Pierce, and then tried to, before doing that, trying to manipulate Hugh into sex. I just felt such a deep hatred towards her. And I was like, I don't know if I can get past this. But I think the author did that on purpose. And then her going into treatment and then coming out and having this talk with Hugh. Oh, again, major whiplash. Major whiplash, and made me just want Liz and Hugh together so bad, but also so understanding that they can't be together because she's likely to have another manic episode one day and cheat on him again, and he just can't get past that. And I just want the best for Hugh, honestly. And how can you take someone back knowing that that's going to happen? It's a lifelong mental disease that Lizzie has. It's not something that can ever be properly or completely cured. She's going to have to fight this for the rest of her life. Oh, the author just talks about so many topics. So overall, what I thought of the book, this is by far the darkest of all the Boys of Tommen series. to the point where I don't even think I could actively recommend this book unless your mental health was top notch and you knew how to process these really deep issues, because these things do happen in real life, and the author has articulated it so well, these mental health conditions and the trauma and the sexual abuse and rape of children. Oh, she just really goes into depth on these topics when you really don't want to face these demons, but you know that they're out there and in real life, and just highlights the importance of protecting your children, protecting your friends. And if something is going on for someone, if they're lashing out or if there are signs that something's going on for them, how important it is to be there for those people and to stand up for your kids. And anyway, I could rant on about this forever, but this book was bloody dark. So I hated this book with a passion, but at the same time, it is my favourite, I think, out of the whole Boys of Tommen series, and I cannot believe that I'm saying that. So I could literally give it 1 star because it touched on topics that I just found really, really hard to grapple with. But then I want to give it 5 stars because it just needed to be said. Those topics needed to be talked about. We needed to face Lizzie's demons and what is going on with real issues in real life. And it was the most emotionally heart-wrenching and traumatizing book I've ever read. And for this reason, it is, I think, my favorite book of the series. A definite 5-6 star read. I just am going to hold this book to my heart for the rest of my life. It was so beautifully written. It has a place in my heart forever. And I literally think Hugh has become my favourite MMC out of all of the Boys of Tommen characters. I loved it. I loved it, loved it, loved it. Stick around because Sarah is going to give her final thoughts on this book and her final rating. I am dying to know what she thought. I'm pretty sure I'm well ahead of her in terms of readings. I have no idea where she's up to or what her thoughts are. But definite 5-star, favourite but also worst book of the series. And it will hold a special place in my heart for a long, long, long time.
Hey besties, I have finished releasing 10 and holy shit. I just don't even know where to begin. You know, after the sort of the horror section of Kiva's, let's call her demise, her death, we do eventually, after sort of a few years of processing that, we do get to a period of calm, and that was a bit of a nice breather. Like, Liz and Hugh are doing well. They have their life planned ahead of them. They're going to have a couple of kids. They're going to move out together. Everything is seemingly really nice, but you just know it's the calm before the storm. And then Liz just spirals again. She does at one point find some photos of herself as a very young kid in a sort of compromising positions, and that just, I think, just breaks something in her, and she starts realizing that maybe some of her memories are real memories. They're not just nightmares that she made up. And she goes from being sort of relatively calm and stable to she's just spiraling. She's manic. Her mum's still sick. Her dad has given up on her. The doctors aren't able to help her. She's like sex obsessed. She's crazy. She's up and down. It's just like all over the place. Hugh is trying to be very respectful, very patient, very calm. He does not want to give in and sort of have sex with Liz as she really wants, because he doesn't think she's stable, and he's just very wary of sort of being considerate to her. But she is so sex obsessed that she just gets wasted. Hugh walks in on her having sex with Pierce in Hugh's bed. And obviously that is the final straw for Hugh. He is done with her. And initially she can't even see what she's done wrong. She tries to justify it and says, well, I needed sex, you didn't want it, so this is actually a win-win for both of us. This is a great situation. And he obviously doesn't see it that way, but she just cannot fathom why he's upset. This chick she's effed up. She has got some major issues. She needs some serious help. I have really gone through periods in this book of feeling a lot of empathy for Liz and sort of, fully on her side, to then periods of just, I hate this girl. She is driving me crazy. And I get she has just this whole mental health situation going on. So you do feel empathetic for her, but enough is enough. And Hugh has got to that point where he's like, you have ripped my heart out of my effing body and I can't deal with it anymore. I don't trust you. So there is a period where she's trying to get him back. Meanwhile, she's still hooking up with Piers. So, fair enough. Hugh's like, you don't seem genuine. Then her parents walk in on her and Hugh having sex. Her mum has a heart attack, goes to hospital. Her dad is well and truly done with her. He already was done with her, even more so he's done with her. So she does check into sort of a facility that's going to help her. Meanwhile, Hugh hasn't moved on, but he has sort of made a new friend in Katie, who we know from the previous books. And then there are some gut-wrenching scenes at the end of the book where, Liz and Hugh go their separate ways and they sort of wish each other the best and they're both devastated and they're crying and it's emotional and it's just horrible. I mean, if I could sum up this book, it's gut-wrenching and it's horrible. And it's so addictive and you really want to know what's going to happen next. So I can't wait to read the next one. My overall rating, I've gone back and forth between 4 and 5 and 4 and 5. And at this point, I think I'm sort of, that 4 to 4.5 mark. I really enjoyed the book. I also hated the book and I feel very emotionally drained from the book. But if you're ready for a sort of intense emotional read, then absolutely go for it. This book will deliver more so than probably all the other books in the series in terms of the emotional angst front.
That's a wrap for today. Thank you for hanging out with us. If you enjoyed the episode, please hit the subscribe button, give us a big thumbs up, and send us book recommendations. We will still be reading a lot of books, even though we're taking a break. We will still be here. We'll still be reading. We still want to hear from you. So until next time, bye.
Bye.